Hello everyone, welcome to the Pushing Hojan podcast. This is your host Ash. There is a point in running where the challenge stops being about distance. Early on, it's about surviving, finishing, just getting through it. But at some stage, if you keep showing up, the question shifts. You start asking yourself if you actually belong here, at the front, among the fastest, among people who look like they have always known what they are doing. That's what today's episode is about. We talk about what happens after the breakthrough races, when expectations change, when you're no longer chasing from behind, but racing to stay there. We talk about doubts, mistakes, and how confidence isn't something that you wake up with, but something that you build by doing the work again and again. This conversation isn't about being fearless, it's about showing up when you are unsure and learning to believe that you earned your spot. If you ever felt like you were on the edge of something bigger, but not quite sure you belonged yet, this one is for you. And in that note, please let me introduce to our guest today. Here is Lotti. Hey Lotti, welcome to the podcast. And I've been looking at your risk profiles and it's pretty impressive. So thank you for this opportunity to talk about your running journey.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Like I said, I have been following you, and then I saw all of those impressive wins, stacking records, everything. For those who may not know you, how would you introduce yourself?
Um, Lotti. I'm a trail runner. I run for Hoka. I stay focused on my running specifically. I've been running for many years. Started in high school in Germany, actually, and then went over to the States to run in college. Then my running journey got a little bit messy because I got injured and swapped over to cycling for a good time, actually, for I think 5 years or so. And then I rediscovered running during the pandemic and am now competitive.
Man, 5 years is a long time to be off running. So, what did you do when you were off not running? Injured? What was
Yeah,
going
I
on?
mean, so I, in 2016, I want to say, maybe 2015, it's when I first got pretty injured. I had a couple back to back stress fractures, and it just took a long time to recover from that. And while I was recovering from it, I found the cycling team at my university. So I changed from the running team to the cycling team and absolutely loved it. I loved the team. I loved the sport. And I was still running. I was still on the running team too, but I wasn't competing really. And then after college, once you're out of the college system, and then I just moved to a new city and I had to find a job and all those things. It just wasn't a priority anymore. So I moved to Austin after college and I was still cycling a good bit and I was still like running here and there, like when I felt like it, when the dog needed to run. I didn't actually like start training again until 2020, I want to say.
Wrist fractures are rough. I had that, and I was stupid enough to run a race with a stress fracture.
Ooh.
And I can remember that pain. And I had this anxiousness or this feeling where after that every time I ran and every time there was a pain in the shin, and my first initial thought was like, oh my god, it's back again, it's hard.
Yeah,
So did you have that feeling where when you were going through?
totally. I did. And it proved to be right a couple times. So, like, the first stress fracture was in my fibula, and that actually healed pretty quickly. Quickly, it still took many weeks, and I like missed out on the whole season. But after that, I started training again, and then very quickly, it wasn't in the fibula again, but I had one in my femur. I think right after was the second one, and that was just an air quotes stress reaction, so it wasn't a full fracture. But then, like after I had those two back to back, and then like another one in my hip after that, I was like, "This is I'm doing something wrong. I need to learn how to a fuel, b get my bone density up, and do something that doesn't have so much impact." Because every time I ran again, I was like, "Oh no, what if it comes back?" And that kind of contributed to taking a long break off of competing because I'm a very competitive person. And if I sign up for a race, I want to do everything I can to show up to that start line like fit and ready. So I just didn't race for a while because I needed to focus on getting my bones to be strong.
I totally get it. I didn't run for, I think, around 2 years. I didn't run for 2 years. I was running, but not that much. But that even after 2 years, that thought was still there. I think I started running when I moved to Phoenix. I was in Texas too. I was in Temple. I think that's near Austin,
Oh yeah.
in between,
Hmm.
yeah, Austin and Dallas. So, and yeah, it was horrible. I hope nobody gets just fractured because it's so rough.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you were running since your childhood, but then this injury gave you a break, and then you were doing biking, biking, and then you came back to this trail running and being competitive. But initially, were you still running trail before the injury, or no? It was just after the
No,
injury.
I wasn't. I only started trail running in like 2020. Before that, I was running track mostly, some cross country in college. And before that, in high school, when I first started running, it was all track. I did the 800 and the 1500. And then in college, I did the 3000 and the 5000. So it was all track. And I only started with these like silly long distance trail runs after that.
And what made you decide go from track, because track is so intense, like
Hmm.
Usain Bolt said this famous line. He said, I trained 2 years for this 10 seconds or something like that because it is so hard. Everybody has to run. Like, that is insane. Like, for so less of a second. So, why did it change from competing in the track to do this other insane thing where you have to do multi day events?
I think probably a couple of things. That was my coach in college. He was a trail runner, ultra trail runner himself. So he inspired me a good bit. And I always thought it was crazy how far he could run. I remember like I think it was my sophomore year of college, I cheered for him at the Ultravasan in Sweden and was just like so in awe on how people can run so fast for so long. So there was a good bit of inspiration that happened there that I got from him. And the other part was that I was just very curious about just in the beginning exploring trails. There were so many trails in Austin that were right off my out of my back door that I had no idea existed, and I only discovered them through running. And they're like weird, like fun, like urban trails that I've never, they're like right there and I've never even know they existed. So there's that like exploration part. And then the other part is just like seeing how far my legs can take me. And that is still something that just amazes me about this sport is that I just have, especially now after doing it for, I don't know, 5 years or so, um, it always amazes me how much trust I can put in my legs that they can carry me for however long I need them to carry. Like I'm never really like scared about missing a turn or going too far because I have full belief in my legs that they can take me back. And that is something that like came over time, but it was something that inspired me in the very beginning.
Like, running trail is one thing, but then competing is this whole new level, right? Because you are
Hmm.
competing. So when did this turn happen for you, where you were inspired by your coach who was an ultra runner? Before that, you did this insane tag workout, which is even harder because you have to run so fast for such a less amount of time. But for you personally, when did that change happen? It was like, oh, okay, I think I can stay up with these people.
Yeah, I think that was gradual too. So I signed up for my first race in January 2021. That was the Bandera 50K. And I had run a 50K a few weeks before because I just wanted to see how many loops I could do around Town Lake in Austin. So I knew I could run a 50K. But after that, the races in the beginning were less about the competition and more so about I just want to see how far I could go. And it's easiest to do that in a race because you have aid stations. It's a somewhat safe environment, right? I'm not just going out for 100K by myself. So in the beginning, it was like purely about seeing where my limits are and like just like figuring out like how far I could go. And then I only really thought about the competition like after probably after my first year of running because I had some like early success. Like I won that like first 50K that I did, and then I had a good 100K after that. I immediately went to the 100 miles, which may or may not have been a good idea, but it was a fun time at Javelina. And then but those were all not like, Javelina was somewhat competitive, but the other two were like, I didn't know anyone really at that point, but even now looking back, they weren't terribly competitive. The like feeling that I could be at the top of the sport only really came in the last 2 years or so when I actually went to the most competitive races like in the world and was able to mix it up in the top 10. That is like when I finally like got the confidence, oh yeah, I can compete with the best in the sport. And that was not until probably like last year.
When you look at the track and when you look at the long distance, you have experience with both. You said you compete with the biking team as well. So, out of all these three things, what similarities have you found or difference between them? Because each one have their own strength and weaknesses.
Yeah, I think cycling is, they're all very different, I feel like. Track running is so fast and so quick. Like I did 10Ks and the 10Ks that you're like actually out there for 35 minutes, so that's a little bit different, but you don't get support, right? Like the gun goes off, you try as hard as you can and then you're done. In cycling, road cycling, it's a team sport. Like if you show up by yourself to a road race, you already lost. It's so much about tactics and strategies. You're like either the sprinter who like sprints into the finish, you're the person who leads them out, you're the person who tries to get the break, you're the person who tries to keep the rest of the pack back. There's so many like team dynamics in a road race that makes that very special and different. And I love that about it. With ultra running and trail running, it's different again because you still have strategies and tactics, but they're more so for yourself because you're running essentially by yourself. Of course, there's like a team aspect when it comes to like world championships or something, but at the end of the day, you have to take care of yourself and you're communicating with your crew or your pacers if you have pacers. So and they're not like actively in the race. So it's a different dynamic. They all feel very different. And then you have enduro downhill races where there is not really a strategy other than like picking the best line and like trying to get down the mountain the fastest. Like you're also like by yourself, like gun goes off, you like try as hard as you can for a few minutes and then you're done. But that's what I love about it. Like every single one of these sports is completely different. The thing that ties them together the most, I think, is what like happens between your ears. Like it's all like the mental game of it because they're all very mentally demanding. And I think that's the thing that like ties them all together.
What about the finishing feeling? Because if you do a track, then you're running on a so higher heart rate. Most of the time, you said 10K, 35 minutes is insane, right? So when you think about it, biking is same. You need so much of
Yeah.
endurance, but do you have that same feeling when you finish off the line?
I think in a no, because I always thought, oh, in like trail running and ultra running, you can enjoy the finish line more. Because in track, it's full gas until you cross it. Same with like road cycling, same with mountain biking. It's just like full gas into the finish line. In ultra running, most of the time you have a few seconds to enjoy it and look up and look at the people cheering you on and like run into the finish but enjoy it. But I'm proving myself wrong here because the last three races I did, it was a sprint into the finish. It's not necessarily a sprint. Like one was a sprint, the other two were like really close, where I had to work really hard to the finish line. So it's not, yeah, it's changing in ultra running too. It's just getting so fast and so competitive that you do have to race until the very last second. Always
Yeah.
feels good, regardless of the sport. Like when you cross the line, you're like, yes, I did it.
Like all the upcoming athletes are the younger ones are breaking all sort of records. Like Killian, of course, I talked to him, and he's breaking like triple crown records in center. He's going and doing things, and I'm like, how is that possible? Because you go and you just it used to be so long, right? When you get the Kokorona, Andrew Glaze, he finished like 100 hours or something. But then the first person was like 61 hours. It was like insane. People do it.
Yeah.
It's I'm amazed. I'm like in this disbelief, right? Wow. We human are so awesome and kick ass because ourselves through so much.
Yeah. And it's exciting because it's only getting faster, right? Every single race, like you listen to the predictions beforehand, and every single time it's, oh, this is the most competitive this race has ever been. I'm like, yeah. And next year it's going to be even more competitive. And if I look at times too, every time, like whenever I'm like, like whenever I come up with like my race plan, like I almost every single time have to do my race plan thinking about like, all right, like this is the time I need to run to a podium, but then probably also take an hour off of that because you have to adjust it based on how fast the sport is exploding. So it's tricky. Like every year, every race, people are getting faster, and I mean, it's a really exciting time to be in the sport. Like I wouldn't have it any other way. It's great.
You obviously said you compete now, right? So you compete against everybody from around the world. Western states is just an example of the races. So how do you feel when you start that line? When you're going in and you're seeing all the other people, Courtney Dua, like Lucy Bartholomew and all these people, they are just like huge names. Even Esther, Chirag.
I used to be more nervous. Now it's more like I I feel like I belong. Like I'm not like though like the big names, they intimidated me like in the very beginning when I first learned about like the big names in the sport. Now I'm just excited that I get to race them. Right? I'm excited that I get to toe the line next to them and be competitive with them, whoever they may be. There's so many incredible athletes in the sport. And there are also like incredible athletes in the sport that I've never heard about. Or there are many people that I don't know their names and they might kick my butt. So I think, yeah, it changed from an intimidation in the very beginning to a sense of belonging. I'm like, yes, like next to these women is where I belong, and I'm gonna try my best to raise them. And yeah,
Initially you said you used to be nervous and being a fan or whatever. That feeling is at the beginning. It's so like disbelief that oh I'm totally lying against this person. And has that feeling changed over the years? Like you said, the more you started running, the more confident you get, and you believe that I deserve to be here rather than just being here in this disbelief. Did you have that similar feeling while you did the other thing as well, when you did the track and bike?
I think that with track running and it's a little bit different because I wasn't racing track on a like world class level, neither with cycling. Like I was racing it within our like within our conference at first, like at SCAD at my university, and then like I did go to like nationals and all of that. But it's not like I didn't really know my competitors that much. Like they were just like the other people I raced against. It's not like there are these like famous people that I'm racing. They were just like other students from other schools who also were really good runners or cyclists. So of course, like over the like seasons, you do get to know them because you tend to race the same people. But it's never like an intimidation because someone is like famous or something. It's just like another person to race. And it's now with mountain biking, like this year is the first season that I've actually raced enduro and downhill races. And it puts me back to when I started trail running because I just showed up to this race and didn't know anyone. And then, like, after the fact, after the race, I found out that they're like world class athletes. Like, they went to like world championships and stuff like that. And I didn't know that until now. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is so cool. But it doesn't really matter. It's like you just do your best on that day, regardless of who else is showing up to the start line. And if you get to mix it up with the best in the world, then that's even better.
In that thought, right? So now you are competing against everybody, and
Mhm.
when you're towing this line, do you feel yourself you have to prove something, or do you go with this mindset, or what mindset do you go into these races? Like, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna compete, I'm gonna have fun.
All of the above. I always want to have fun. Like, I don't ever want to get into my head too much and overthink things because then racing is just not fun. And then it's really easy to dig yourself a mental hole and then get stuck in it if you like kind of race with just a single goal in mind. Yeah. And it's also like most of these races are, especially trail races, they are in cool places, like in cool corners of the world. So if I'm not going to have fun, like what am I even doing? Like I want to see these beautiful places and I get to do this. And this is like a privilege to go race these like really like incredible runners in a really incredibly beautiful place. So yeah, having fun is at the forefront of everything. But I also want to compete. I also do well. But at the end of the day, it's like I can't influence my competitors' races. Like they're gonna race the way they race. And if they're better than me that day, then they're better than me. I can only really influence my own race. I can take good care of myself. I can fuel well. I can put in all the work and training beforehand to show up the fittest I could possibly be. And then it's just about execution. So most of my goals are like A, have fun, B, execute the way I know I can execute, and then, try my hardest to see where I can end up in the end. And if that's a win or a podium or a 15th place, if I tried my best that day, then that's just what it is. And then I'm happy with it.
Has there been any race you went to and you planned it perfectly and everything, and it didn't go well? And has there been other races where you went and you nailed everything from all the splits that you needed to hit?
Yeah, so a good example is probably Western States last year. I had an amazing training block. Maybe one of the like on paper best training blocks I've ever had. I had my fueling pretty dialed. I had like friends out there to crew for me. I had pacers lined up. Everything was like ready to go. Like I put a tie on my like a bow tie on my beautiful training block, flew everyone out to Olympic Valley, and the race went off, and it was great until I don't know, like the 60K mark or something. And that is just something that like we don't wake up every morning having the best day ever. And that is the same with running. I not every single day I'm like ready to perform at the best of my capabilities. And there's not necessarily anything that like I completely did wrong at Western States. I was cooling right. I had all my cooling gear on. I was eating. I was doing everything right until like kilometer 60, like mile, I don't know, 40, when all of a sudden my gels started not tasting so good anymore. And then I got some like stomach upset and stuff like that. And that just happens sometimes. And then you just have to roll with the punches. And I think that's like, again, like if you're going in with this like single goal of winning, like I was feeling pretty confident that day at States that I can be top 10 and in a best case scenario podium. And those goals went out of the window. But I still had the goal of this is an amazing race. Not like very few people get this opportunity. I'm out here with some of my best friends. I ran the last 20 miles with my sister in law, and it was a magical experience, and it was still so fun. So now, like, I look back at Western States, not like upset that I didn't win. I look back at Western States like joyfully because it was a really fun day, even though I didn't reach my goal of like my performance goal, I guess. I reached all my other goals.
So far in your journey, what has been the highlight of your journey where you have been so proud of the achievement that you have done?
Ah, that's a good question.
Questions are like a curveball. I didn't send it to you.
No, it's all good. I there are a few highlights. I think one highlight is when I won my golden ticket at Grindstone. That one was special because that was like one of the first races where I went in like with full confidence. I went in and I was like, I can win this race. I can get this ticket. I want to go to States. I'm making this happen. And I also did it by myself. Like I didn't have a coach at the time. I didn't have crew or pacers or whatever. I just flew out there by myself the day before. Like it was a business trip. Like I just went there, did it, and came home. And that was so exciting. I was like, I can do this. I can be competitive. That was like the first time where I like had full confidence that I could win like a golden ticket and um just not overthink it, right? Just do it in a casual way. But then the opposite, it's not the opposite, but like the other highlight I think was CCC just a couple years ago, a couple weeks ago, because that one I just executed so well, and I had my family and my friends there to support me, and that makes it extra special to be at such a competitive race, perform, do it with the people you love the most by your side, and then also like it's it was just I was just proud of how I executed it because I just like ticked every box. I just had fun the whole time. I took good care of myself. My crew had fun. And it was just like a really fun summer, not taking things too seriously leading up to it. That I once race day rolled around, I was ready to perform without being too much in my head.
You just mentioned the Grandstone 100K, which you won, and then you set the course record and everything, and then the golden ticket you just mentioned. What clicked in that race when you're going in and you said you executed everything perfectly and you won, but you just so what happened? What clicked?
I think multiple things. So when I first started, I was always trying to run from the front because I got really discouraged if I wasn't in the lead. Because I thought, oh, if I heard, oh, there's like a 5 minute gap to the lead, I would get discouraged because I was like, oh, that's such a long time. There's no way I can make that up. So I think over the years, I learned that it's okay to run your own race and people will come back to you. Which I mean, it's getting harder and harder because people are just so fast, but that just means I have to start faster too. And just be a little bit more chill about it, right? Like I can run my own race and still win the race. I don't have to run someone else's race to win. And then the other thing is that less is more. Not necessarily. I don't mean that by like fueling less. Like we all know that high carb is the way to go. But I used to just overthink my like logistics way too much. I was like, I'm taking like these 10 different gels, and then I need carb drink, and then I need chews, and then I need like electrolyte capsules, and then at every aid stations I have a different kind of pack, and I just had all these like different things going on, but I need this at like minute 20 and that at minute 45, and then I'm good for 30 minutes, and then it was just like way too much, right? Like way too many like different things that all like I mean, they all do the same thing, but I just had things planned out way too much that when I then like missed something, I was like, oh no, what do I do? And I think I've now learned that, and that is like something that I also kind of learned at Grindstone, is that since I didn't have a crew, like there were amazing volunteers and people were like helping me fill water bottles, and they were like competitors crews who were helping me out. But what I learned at Grindstone is exactly that, that less is more. I just carried pretty much all my gels because I didn't want to mess with drop bags. And I just had the same gel every 20 minutes, and that was it. So yeah, I think, and that's just such a like silly little thing that I learned, is that I just don't need to go too complicated. Like the less you have to think during a race, the better it is.
You were talking about ultrarun, and you mentioned that when you ran the Western State 60 kilometer, it was so low for you when you did that. And when that moment arrives for you in any races, right? And doing when you run an ultra marathon, like when you do 100 miler, there
Mhm.
is sometimes good, there is sometimes bad, sometimes it's okay. So how do you navigate through when you are going in this low patch at the moment? And what goes around? Like, do you have any mantras or anything that goes you by?
I I don't really have specific mantras. Um, I a lot of times I get songs stuck in my head, and the same song just keeps playing for the whole entire race, which can be a long time. Um, but in terms of getting into like difficult like mental spots, it's a lot of time what helps is as soon as I like feel like mentally down, I have a gel or like something to eat. That already helps because it's a little bit of an energy uplift. And then I always tell myself to get to the next terrain change. So if I'm like in a mental hole going up a mountain, I'm just telling myself just get to the top, and then like the terrain changes, and usually just that change in terrain helps you get out of that hole, because then it's just like a different movement, right? You like hike uphill and it feels like it takes forever, and you feel like you're moving so slow and everything is bad. You just make it to the top, and then you get to run downhill, and then like usually that already helps like taking me from a bad spot to a good spot again, just because of the difference in movement. Well, it doesn't
Makes
even have
sense.
to be like an uphill versus a downhill. It could be like just get out of this forest or get into the shade or get to this like next rock or something. So usually like terrain changes are what I'm looking for when I am in a dark spot.
Yes, and food usually helps because I talk
Yeah,
to so many people and they say like, if you're not feeling well, eat something and then take a break.
yeah,
Take a break. Just give yourself time. I think that has
yeah.
been the one lesson. Use that in my ultra to just take it easy. And I gather so many mantras from so many people, and I try to use it. I used it on my last ultra too, where I've never I saw the hills that I've never seen, and I saw the downhill that I've never ran. 16 kilometers off. I've never trained those kind of terrain before. And living in Berlin, like I thought the hills were pretty okay that I can go, and I was like, I know hills, but no, I don't know
Mhm.
hills. So it it has been a very interesting, I think, knowledge gathering, I would say, because each guest, I think I picked up something that I can take it to me. And if I'm in this rough moment, then I just try to remember what that person said, or try to use all of these things that we talked about in this podcast, and that really helps.
Yeah.
And when you look at the journey, initially you did track and then bike, and then you are in this endurance world right now, competing
Hmm.
against best in the world. What is the one thing that ultra running has taught you about yourself?
Oh, I feel like it has taught me many things. And obviously, it maybe not obviously, but it taught me that I can exceed my own expectations. And that is just like as simple as I can run further than I ever thought I could run. But that applies to like other things in life too. Like I'm not limited to anything. Like I can exceed expectations and goals. The other, then there are just so many things that like ultra running teaches you. It's like in endurance sports, I guess in general. Like when you are like out there by yourself, trying hard for so long, like you go through so many different stages in your head and just with your body. You like get to know your body really well. You get to know your brain really well. You have these existential thoughts during the race about what matters most in life. What there's just so many things that go on during a race or even during long training runs where you're like, why am I even doing this? And then you answer it for yourself, like however you're gonna answer it in that moment. But then also like how you show up for other people in your life, how you compete with other people in this race, how you like approach it, if you want to approach it from a joyful perspective, if you want to just be the best in the world, and then that's also like a great place to be, right? There's so many different ways to approach the sport, and I think based on that, like there are always different learnings. And I also feel that way generally, that different races and different training blocks teach me different things. And yeah, I like that. I think that's important that you always keep an open mind, and like I always want to keep learning. And I think running is a great teacher.
Yes, it is. And just touching briefly on the topic, you said ultra running has taught you so many things, right? And if you go look back at your race's history that you have done, can you remember something that a particular race has taught you or something?
Yeah, there's a yeah. So usually the races that teach you the most are the races that don't go well. I think like CCC last year, for example, taught, or I mean, let's use UTMB as an example because I've been there 3 times now. The first year I did UTMB, the big loop, and it was a disaster, mostly because I was so not confident. Like I was not confident in my training. I was not confident that I should do this race. I did it anyway. I like had a not fun time, and it was just I was just overthinking everything. I was like my strategy was like terrible. I started like way in the back and then had to race really hard to make up the time. Then I got wrapped though. It was like a whole shit show. And that taught me to be confident in my training before I line up at a race and be confident in myself and to just run my own race. Like I gotta do what works best for me. So there's like that race taught me. So more about life is like the confidence part, the like doing what I prepared to do. Then CCC last year, I was ready to toe the line. I was really like fit, strong. The race itself went great. Like I came in ninth, which is great on a stage like that. But I did have a like big like chunk of the race where I wasn't feeling great, mostly not body related, mostly it was like mental. And that taught me that I can lean on my people. I can lean on my crew that is there. I don't have to like that's and that is again like applied broader in life is that I have this great support system of my friends and my family that I can lean on when things get hard, regardless of if I'm in a race or not. Like that's just like everyday life. I can do that. So yeah, those are the two races that taught me a lot. And then obviously what I was mentioning earlier, like Grindstone taught me that I don't need to overthink like my logistics too much, that I can actually do this in a simple, straightforward way and it's much easier. And Yeah, sorry, I'm rambling. There are just so many. Every single race has like learnings. Like I have a whole like note like in my notes app on my phone. Every race has like the learnings that I got from it, and every single race, good or bad, even if I won, there's still learnings. So they just like rack up.
There was this one question I was thinking about it while you were talking, and I was like, I'm gonna ask this, but I don't remember now what what it was. But it was something of that we just talked about. Okay, maybe it will come back.
Yeah.
Um, since you are competing in this world event, best of best from everywhere is coming to UTMB, Western States. It's a very competitive race. To prepare for that, you have to train a lot, but then also there is your life. There is family, there is downtime. So how do you balance everything?
Yeah, that's a tough question because it's I don't know, I have a lot going on. Like I run professionally. I am working full time at a tech startup that is a very fun but also demanding job. I like have my husband, I have a dog here that I love very much. They need attention. I do have a lot of other interests and hobbies. Like I run a little design and textile studio out of my home in Boise. I love mountain biking and compete there too and want to get better. I just have a lot of interests in life, and that is not even scratching the surface. There are a lot of like smaller ones too. Like I can get into it. Like we can talk about pottery. We can talk about like sourdough baking. We can talk about whatever it may be. Right? There's so many interests. I think the big ones that I have to like manage every day are running, work, and family. And that thankfully is like I my job is supportive of my running, which is great. Like it's been it is a like demanding job that is very challenging, but very like in a good way. Like I love the challenge, but they are like the whole team is excited about me like going to Worlds, going to CCC. Like they are very supportive. Like my um he hates when I call him my boss, but my boss, he like pays me at Western States. It's like he's a good friend of mine and runs with me a lot. And if I can I can balance running and work well. I just run early in the morning or like whenever I have a break in meetings and work the rest of the day. The thing that is sometimes a little bit more tricky is to make a good amount of time for like family and like fun activities outside of running and working, right? Because all of a sudden, like I run in the morning, then I work all day, and then it's already the evening, and I'm like, oh, I want to like go on a bike ride with my husband, or go hang out with friends by the river, or go like sew something. And then those things I have to make a conscious effort to prioritize because running and work is so scheduled. Like it's just every day, it's like training, work, and then the unscheduled time is the time that I have to prioritize to make sure that even if it's unscheduled, quality time happens. And I just don't sit on the couch and veg away on my phone.
I totally get it. I am in tech too. I am a PO now, but I used to be a developer, so I understand the life of working at a startup. It's not fun. Um,
Yeah, I think it's very fun. It's just challenging.
yeah, it is. It is challenging because I know it's sometimes it's too much. It's a
Yeah.
and especially if you're launching product or something, then is you have to live in the office or do something
Yeah.
there. Then and that is not fun. I mean, creative part is so much fun for me too because that's why I wanted to be a PO was because
Mhm.
I have so much years of experience now that I can look at things and then understand what is happening in the back end front end because I've worked in so many different roles. So it's easier to figure things out, but working late and this things like that sucks.
It's always very much go.
Yeah. And I remember the question. When we talked about this example you're giving on, like when you did the UTMB the first year, and then how when you did the big logo and how bad it was, and then the Western States too, you had so many goals. Like you were probably aiming for podium those
Mhm.
events, And sometimes when you run, it doesn't go as planned, like we were talking about earlier. How do you deal with the setbacks that happens because you have been training so much and you've been putting so much effort leading to that race and feeling so confident, but then something goes horribly wrong during the race,
Uh,
and how do you deal with that thing?
I think that is also something that I learned in like the last, I don't know, 2 years or so, is that I want to make sure that I'm having a good time regardless of the like the race outcome. So I want my training block to be fun, to make also have room for all the other things I want to do in life, and that the race is just a cherry on top. So regardless of the race performance, I can feel good about the like weeks leading up to it. So I don't know, like CCC for example, this year, that was my goal race. I wanted to do. I trained specifically for this race. I was fit lining up. I knew I could compete. That was a big goal of mine. But I structured my summer in a way that even if I had a bad day at CCC or like whatever, like things just happen. People like roll their ankles. Like it's just like things happen, right? That regardless of how that race ended up being, I could look back at my summer thinking that was an awesome summer. So like it's just I just always try to not direct all my focus on one single goal. Like this summer was not just about CCC. It was about racing bikes, mountain bikes for the first time, about like challenging myself in technical terrain, about like a lot of fun work trips, like doing things I've never done before, about like my first training camp with Hoka. I got to go to Germany for some family time. There were just a lot of things that had nothing to do with CCC that made the summer amazing. And that set me up for success to actually like race and perform at CCC. Because like regardless of how the race turned out, it would have been a great summer. And that's I guess like how I'm dealing with setbacks, right? If I'm having a bad race, I can still look fondly upon my preparation and about like how the weeks leading up to it went.
And when you were mentioning the CCC, Western State, your boss, your friends that flew to Western State, and family went to France to do all of that things, and support system is very important, right? Especially for the trail runners. And what role has your like support system played in your journey?
It plays a huge role. It's I yeah, I don't know how exactly I would be doing this if I was just doing it by myself. And I'm not even talking about like, most of my support system are not necessarily runners. Like I have a huge support system of like my family, my bike friends, my like it's just my like at CCC my old friends from Austin came who are they run but they're not like competitive trail runners or any or even like in the scene at all. They don't know anyone. It's like my support system just gets so made up of such diverse people who don't really care about the sport, but they care about me and they want to support my goals, regardless of what they are within the sport. And that is just amazing. That just makes me feel supported, makes me feel loved. And yeah, and it motivates me too. And it's the same, like, even with my, like, when I moved to Boise 3 years ago, like, one of my priorities moving to Boise is that I find, like, my people in Boise and I find a community and specifically also a running community because in Austin I ran most of my miles alone. And now in Boise I can run with someone every single day of the week. And I have an amazing community there. We started a little, I don't know if you're familiar with Cowgill, but it's like a Seattle run group that we like started a little chapter of in Boise. So we have a Boise Cowgill group and it's just a running group and it's made up of lovely people and I get to run with them every Thursday And that's like another part of support, right? Even though they're not like necessarily like at my races, like handing me my gels, like I feel the support from like wherever I am in the world, right? If it's like in France for CCC, or in Spain for Worlds, or in New Zealand for Tarawera, I know that my like local Boise running group and my whole support like network across the globe is like cheering me on from wherever they are, and that is incredible. And that is
Makes sense.
honestly in a way that has nothing to do with running, because they would cheer me on if I was like bowling or whatever it may be. Like it's really just, about finding your people and finding like quality
Community.
people who are like
Yeah.
committed to you and are excited to support you regardless of what you want to do with your life.
I think we all need people like that in our life, who would just cheer
Yeah.
you on, regardless what you do. I think that is the cool thing about this auto running community too, because everybody is so nice.
Yeah. And that's something that's like special about the sport too, is it's so easy to make friends, right? The ultra running community, we're in such a like bubble that like everything matters so much within our community. But what's amazing about that is that everyone is like very supportive of one another and cheer my competitors on every single race they do, even within the race. Like when they're out and back, they're cheering each other on, even though we're competing. So yeah, it's an incredible community.
Definitely. And we talked about so many races, right? So the Grandstone, the Western States, UTMB, CCC. What is next for you?
I am flying over to Spain on Monday. I'm gonna compete in the long trail in the world championships there on the 27th.
Okay, so I have to send you good luck on 19th.
Yeah, please do. I'm gonna need it.
Yes, I'll do that. I'll remember it. And let's say, right, so running is fun. And there are so many people. It's like me too. I don't think I would have ever gotten into ultra running if I haven't started this podcast, because
Yeah,
there are so many incredible stories that I talk to, like the DNFs, the words like growth happens when you're out of your comfort zone, and which is all true. And all of my friends that I talk to on Instagram, and everybody's like all these awesome trail runners, and I always wanted to do this, but I never really committed myself. And then once I
yeah,
started doing this, it's so awesome, like you hear all the wins and lots, even though I just know you briefly, and then I'm happy that you ran and then you were crossing it and doing it, because it just makes me happy listening to how your journey has been. And it's just awesome.
yeah.
It's just that awesome feeling. So
And
this is
it goes
somebody's
vice
listening to.
versa too, right? It's not just the like wins that inspire people. Like it also like everyone who runs ultras inspires me. Everyone who has the courage to line up for one of these long races, regardless of if they're like winning or if they're back of the pack, they're all inspiring. And I think that's so cool about this sport, is that we all get to run together regardless of performance.
Yes, yeah. I think on when I did marathon, I was in the mid pack, but that when I did this ultra trail running, I cried, which I never done when I did a marathon, never, because it was such a humbling feeling. Like I said, I thought I knew hills, but then there was this 1,000 meter of elevation, which I could never comprehended before. How big is that? So now, now I know when I look at the elevation,
Yeah, it's
then
crazy.
it was like humbling.
Oh, I bet.
And yeah, I'll never forget it. That is for sure.
That's
So for,
amazing.
just like me, right? So who was inspired by all of these stories, DNF, lows, high, because it's so it's just contagious. I think ultra running journey is contagious, because if somebody listens to it, then they are like, "Oh my God, they did it! They went through this
Yeah.
thing, and then it's so amazing. They came out on top." So if somebody is listening to us right now and they're at this spot, right here where you are gonna say these words next. So, what would be your advice to those first-time ultra runners who are just thinking about doing it, but they are not sure? They're not sure to jump into that new challenge they're facing in their
Mhm.
life.
I think give yourself room to surprise yourself because it may seem like an impossible task, like running a 50K or 100K or what, even a 5K when people are first starting. But I think we all have the potential to surprise ourselves because usually, like, what happens is that we set our expectations too low. And I think that if you just start and put one foot in front of another, chances that you'll surprise yourself eventually are pretty. So give yourself room to really surprise yourself and enjoy that.
Definitely. So, we're almost towards the end. Three things left. So these, there are some few questions I'll ask you that is pretty common with everybody else. So
Mhm.
first one goes like this: why do you run?
I run because I love it. I run because that's such a simple answer, but I just love being outside for like a long amount of time, exploring, having fun, like challenging myself. And I do that, and that kind of like transfers over to other things too. That's the same reason why I mountain bike, is that I like to challenge myself and I like to be outside and I like to explore. I race because I love the competition, what we bring out of each other. Like, I could not, if you had sent me out on the CCC course by myself, I would have not run the time that I ran. And that is what I love about racing and competition, is that we really bring out the best in each other. So, like, the combination of like why I run and why I race makes up for like why I am like in the sport the way I am in the sport.
Makes sense. So next is the rapid fire round. So I'll just ask you a bunch of random weird questions, stupid, whatever. So whatever comes to your mind first. Road or trails?
Trails,
Uphill or downhill?
uphill.
Best piece of running advice you have ever received?
Don't take it too seriously.
Morning run or evening run?
Morning.
Bucket list race?
Oof, I race in Asia. I've never raced in Asia before.
One song that fires you up?
Okay, this is so I just before CCC, I went on a like mountain bike trip and I just bought a new bike in Europe. And the bike is called a Madonna. It's by a brand called Raw, so it's a Raw Madonna. And ever since I bought that bike, I for the entirety of the CCC race, I had a prayer by Madonna stuck in my head. And I don't really know the lines. I just know one single line, so it just played over and over again. So it doesn't necessarily fire me up, but that is the song that got me through CCC.
Hardest race you have ever run?
I the race itself is probably not the hardest, but I ran Black Canyon the last 20 miles with a like partially dislocated kneecap, and that was pretty hard.
Yeah, that is tough. Dream training partner, dead or alive?
I have my dream training partner. I have my dog Atlas. He runs with me every single day, so I couldn't ask for a better training partner
So this is the final question. I would like you to please finish this sentence for me. Running has changed my life because.
because of the people it has brought into my life.
Awesome. Yeah, this was a nice conversation. Thank you so much for your time, and
Yeah.
we had some fun and good moments. So I think folks will enjoy this episode and look at your journey and the progression, and they will be like, okay, I can do it too. So hopefully somebody lets up.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
And no, thank you for letting me share your journey, and it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. I hope you really enjoyed this conversation. I'll see you again next time with another guest. Until then, happy running.